He smiled the day his world collapsed, but she didn't. Clara Evans drove into her hometown with a silence that felt heavier than any goodbye she'd ever said. The sign that once welcomed her now leaned, half-rusted, like the hope she'd left behind. What if the very streets that mocked her could become the stage of her greatest triumph? Would she forgive the echoes that once broke her? The roads were the same, but she was not. Behind the wheel, memories clawed their way out, laughter that cut, promises that burned. She had left a dreamer and returned a storm. As her car rolled past the old diner where it all began, her chest tightened. She remembered every name, every sneer. But this time, she wasn't running from them. She was walking straight into the fire. The diner hadn't changed, not the smell of burnt coffee, nor the laughter that still carried judgment. Clara sat in the same booth where she once cried after being mocked for dreaming beyond Rosebridge. The whispers rose again, soft and venomous, but she didn't flinch. Her silence was her armor now. When she looked up and caught Elena's reflection in the mirror, she realized the years hadn't made her kinder, only better at hiding her cruelty. Outside, the rain thickened, and the world blurred through the diner glass. Henry approached hesitantly, wiping his hands on his jacket before sitting across from her. He spoke softly, words tangled with guilt and longing. For a moment, the years between them vanished. But when she mentioned her project, rebuilding the plaza, his face tightened. The past, it seemed, wasn't ready to let her go. Later that night, Clara stood before the old town square. Broken benches, cracked fountains, memories carved into stone. She imagined what it could be, a place of belonging, not shame. The rain had stopped, leaving puddles that mirrored the streetlights. In the reflection, she saw both who she was and who she refused to be again. When she returned to her rented room that night, exhaustion found her, but peace didn't. She unpacked a small box from her suitcase. Inside, a faded notebook filled with sketches and dreams she once swore she'd make real. The final page held her teenage handwriting. "One day thou'll see." Clara smiled faintly, not out of vengeance but out of knowing that day had finally come. Sleep didn't come easily. Memories rarely let her rest. That night, as thunder whispered across Rosebridge, Clara closed her eyes and drifted backward to the girl she once was. The smell of chalk dust, the sound of laughter that wasn't kind. It all came rushing back like a flood she thought she'd escaped. The pain had a face, several in fact. And one of them was Elena's. Elena had mocked her in front of everyone. Her dream of becoming an architect sounded ridiculous to them. A girl from a diner family, designing cities. They laughed until the bell rang, and even then their voices followed her home. But Clara never forgot the sting. She turned it into fire. That evening she sat at the diner counter where her mother worked. The smell of fried onions and coffee lingered. She watched customers come and go, listening to their stories, learning their faces. She didn't know it then, but she was already studying structures, not of buildings, but of people. Henry had always been different. He didn't mock her. He admired her, though he never said it aloud. He found her one evening behind the library, crying softly over torn sketches. He didn't offer pity, just silence. And that silence became their bond. That night, Clara made a promise. In her notebook, she wrote just 6 words. "I will build my own place." No one believed in her, not even the world she lived in. But sometimes, belief doesn't start with others. It starts with a broken heart that refuses to stay broken. Morning arrived dressed in gold. The rain had washed Rosebridge clean, or maybe that's what she wanted to believe. Clara walked along Main Street when a black car pulled up beside her. From it stepped Mayor Richard Hale, the man who once dismissed her as a small-town dreamer. Now his tone was different, respectful, cautious. He spoke of a new project, restoring the town's central plaza. But there was one condition. she'd have to work with the Heritage Board shared by none other than Elena Moore. Clara's silence said what words couldn't. Fate, it seemed, had a cruel sense of humor. He spoke of legacy, of vision, of bringing pride back to Rosebridge. But beneath his practiced words, Clara sensed desperation. The kind that only surfaces when a man realizes time is running out. He needed her more than he admitted. And that power, once stolen from her, felt strangely heavy in her hands. When he mentioned Elena's name, Clara didn't flinch. She only nodded once, slowly. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about proving that Worth didn't need permission. The mayor smiled, unaware that he had just invited a storm back into his perfect little town. As she left the meeting, she saw Elena waiting in the corridor, arms crossed, smile sharp as broken glass. Back so soon? Elena's voice dripped with sugar and venom. Clara didn't respond. Some battles are won by silence, some by time. And she knew both were on her side now. Back in her rented room, Clara spread the blueprints across the bed. Her mind raced, not with fear, but with fire. This wasn't just a job. It was a reckoning. For every whisper that told her she wasn't enough, she would build something lasting. The girl they once mocked was gone. In her place stood a woman who had learned that humility wasn't weakness. It was the foundation for greatness. The town council meeting was packed. Not because anyone cared about architecture, but because they wanted to see the girl who once scrubbed diner floors sitting at the head of the table. Whispers moved like wildfire. Elena stood across from her, polished and smiling, ready to play her game. Clara adjusted her papers, steady and silent. The air trembled with judgment and expectation. But the moment Elena spoke, the room shifted from polite to cruel. Elena spoke first, smooth, rehearsed, and venom hidden behind her politeness. She questioned Clara's experience, mocked her modern ideas, and smiled as the audience nodded. But Clara didn't respond. She let silence hang heavy until even the mayor looked uneasy. Then, in a voice that didn't shake, she said, "You can't rebuild a place if you never understood what it's made of." The room fell silent. For the first time, Elena had no clever reply. After the meeting, Clara walked out into the sun, her pulse steady, her heart strangely calm. Henry caught up to her, his eyes full of apology and awe. He told her she'd done what no one else ever dared, speak truth in front of those who lived off lies. Clara smiled faintly. The world, she realized, didn't have to applaud her. She was building something stronger than their approval, her peace. But peace never lasts long in a place built on pride. That evening, Elena called a private meeting with the board. She whispered doubts about Clara, sowed seeds of distrust. When the news reached Clara that the town was reconsidering her design, she didn't shout. She went quiet. And in that silence, something inside her shifted from hurt to resolve. Clara drove to the plaza site that night. The square lay empty, half forgotten under the soft glow of street lamps. She stood there, wind tugging her hair, eyes tracing the outline of what could be. They could doubt her, they could mock her, but they couldn't erase her vision. Because some dreams, the real ones, don't need permission. The sky broke before she did. Thunder rolled across Rosebridge as dark clouds gathered above the half-built plaza. Clara stood beneath them, soaked in rain and disbelief. Overnight, vandals had torn through her work. The plans scattered, the foundation cracked, and when she arrived, she found Elena there, pretending to inspect the damage. Her smirk said more than her words ever could. Elena's voice cut through the storm like glass. She accused Clara of negligence, hinted that the project was doomed from the start. Town officials, conveniently summoned, arrived minutes later. They didn't know the truth, and they didn't care to. As cameras flashed and murmurs spread, Clara felt the familiar sting of old laughter, the kind that once sent her running. But this time she didn't run. Not yet. That night, headlines spread through town. Architect's dream collapses before it begins. She didn't open her door for anyone. Not Henry, not the mayor, not even the rain. She sat alone, the hum of the storm outside blending with the silence inside. On her table lay the blueprint, smudged and torn. Her reflection in the window looked like someone she used to know. Someone tired, small, forgotten. As thunder faded into soft rain, Clara's gaze fell on an old notebook, the one she'd carried since her teenage years. She opened it, and there it was, her own handwriting from a lifetime ago. "One day they'll see." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise, and promises, she decided, deserved to be kept. By dawn, she was back at the plaza, alone, armed with nothing but her will. She worked until her hands bled, clearing debris, redrawing lines, rebuilding stone by stone. The storm had taken her plans, but not her purpose. In the silence of early morning, with her breath visible in the cold, Clara began again. Not for them, but for the girl who never stopped believing. The next morning, the town woke to a sight they didn't expect. Clara was back at the plaza working alone. Her clothes were soaked, her hair tangled, her hands raw. But she smiled, not for them, but for herself. Henry arrived first, wordless, joining her with a shovel. Then others followed. Workers, students, strangers. One by one, the silence of mockery turned into the rhythm of rebuilding. The sound of hammers and hope filled the square. Clara directed the small team with precision and patience, her voice calm but certain. Even those who once doubted her followed her lead. Henry watched her move. No hesitation, no bitterness, just purpose. For the first time, the town saw what true leadership looked like. News spread quickly, not of her fall, but of her comeback. Even the mayor came to see it for himself. He offered an awkward smile. Words of apology tangled in his throat. Clara didn't need them. Forgiveness wasn't something she gave out loud. It was something she lived. Elena arrived later that afternoon. She stood at the edge of the plaza, watching in silence. For once, she didn't speak. Her perfect hair, her designer clothes. They looked out of place against the honest labor around her. When Clara noticed her, she simply nodded. No anger, no victory, just peace. Days turned into weeks, and the plaza rose again, stronger, brighter, more alive than ever. The fountain, once a symbol of what was broken, now stood as the heart of everything rebuilt. When the last stone was placed, Clara stood quietly, her hands trembling with exhaustion. She didn't cheer. She didn't need to. The work spoke louder than words ever could. The grand opening day arrived beneath a clear blue sky. The plaza shimmered with new life. Flowers, laughter, music, all built upon foundations born from pain and persistence. As people gathered, whispers replaced gossip with awe. Clara stood behind the curtain, her heart steady. She wasn't here to prove anyone wrong. She was here to show what right looked like when you never gave up. When she stepped forward, the crowd hushed. Clara looked at faces she once feared, the same ones that had laughed, doubted, and dismissed her. Her voice was calm, steady, kind. "I built this not to erase the past," she said, "but to remind us that from broken things, beauty grows." Every word landed like sunlight after a storm. From the edge of the crowd, Elena watched. Her flawless smile faltered. For the first time, she saw Clara not as the girl she'd mocked, but as the woman who'd done what she never could, rise without bitterness. As applause erupted, Elena turned away, tears she'd never admit tracing her cheek. Some defeats come not from losing, but from realizing what you destroyed could have been your own redemption. After the ceremony, Clara walked through the plaza alone. Children ran around the fountain she'd rebuilt, laughter echoing where pain once lived. Henry joined her, saying softly, "You did it." She smiled, but shook her head. "No," she said, "we did." For once, the word we didn't hurt to say. It felt like home. As dusk settled, Clara stood at the plaza's center, the town lights glowing all around her. She placed her hand on the smooth stone of the fountain and whispered, "One day they'll see." Then she smiled, because now they did. Her past had not been erased. It had been transformed. And sometimes the loudest revenge is quiet grace.